I want to talk about this kind of thing where if you're doing a cast light, let's just take this color. If I'm doing this, like let's say, you know, this is a light source. This is a little different. It would diffuse a lot there. But if this is sort of a, let's say it's a stage light, does that make sense? If it's a stage light or something like that, I'm probably going to go here to filter, give it just a hair. Just a hair. But then I'm going to probably come in here maybe with my blur tool. And as it comes down away from the source, which would be the point source of the light, it's going to get way more diffused. Does that make sense? Yeah?
Yeah, it makes sense.
And then here, another thing I'll do is I'll go, I have to do this real quick. I'm going to go, hey, what's going on? Oh, I'm on blur. Hang on. Damn it. I might come in here. Let's try a little of that. And I'd probably also come up in here, depending on what the situation is, especially with stage lighting. And I'd put a little bit of foggy smoke kind of stuff in there. Does that make sense? Yeah.
It could also be like a UFO being.
Yeah. And then I'd probably go here. I'd create a point source if it was, you know. So there's a point, a source for the lighting. You know, and it starts again. And also another thing, it depends on where you're at, but if you're close to it, you can get little. That's a really bad example of it. Little dust specks that'll get lit up in there if you're close enough to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like you guys probably never see those spotlights anymore. They used to do spotlight searchlights. I think they're probably illegal now. You know, for like opening of a car dealership or something like that. So you'd see this thing, you know, miles away. And if you got close up to it, it was insanely bright and you'd see all this dust lit up. I mean, it lit up everything that was in the atmosphere. It was really interesting.
Yeah.
You know, so I'd probably come down here and diffuse this even more. Still not enough. I might even be able to go, I don't know if this will work. Go back to my beam. That's weird. Oh, there it goes. You know, diffuse it a little more. And then I'd use there, that's a little better. You see what I mean? Then I'd have to use my blur tool again to sort of make this little transition right here. But it's always going to be harder edge up towards the source. And then diffuse like that. Does that make sense? Okay, so you got to be careful with that. Always, again, watch your edges, right? A lot of people, they always just put like a hard thing. What I like here too, by the way, is this little edge light. See that? Also, on all of these, and this also we're gonna start talking about brushes and all that stuff. So I'm a little bit about whatever you call it, smudge brush here. One of the ways you can use it, because I want to start talking about how we can use that, because we're all about brushes right now. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I'm gonna go here. I'm just gonna grab this brush, and then I'm gonna go. Let's go red.
Is that one of the brushes you're going to give us?
I already gave you this one.
Oh, okay.
This is just my standard drawing brush. The reason it doesn't matter is because I'm going to affect this with my smudge brushes, okay? So all I'm doing right now is laying down the initial color, okay? So then I'm going to go, that's hot. Then I'm going to go to hotter. So let's go to a little orange. So I'm going to do a little flame here. Hang on, it's thinking. And I can go a little bit more. This is at 80. I don't want it at 80. Man, my computer's slow. I want it at 100. Okay, so now I'm going to get that. And then on the interior of that, I'm going to push it up to hotter, which is yellow. Come on. So I'm going to push this up into the yellow, and it needs to be a warm yellow. If you notice, it starts to drift to a cool yellow there. I don't want that. I want a nice, clean, warm yellow. And then there's kind of my point source. Then I can come in here. I usually use this one to do this. I like the way it breaks up the edges. That's way too big. And I'll start with this anyway. And then I will go. Now we'll start to get a nice little broken edge, because a flame is going to throw off these little embers and things, correct? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to dissipate as it goes up. So you can see it's very simple to get a kind of flame effect. Does that make sense?
Definitely, yes.
So the reason I do these is because, like, when I was in school, you'd learn all these rendering things, and the things you thought were very complex, once you learned how to do them, really weren't. And then the other thing you got to do, so, you know, I could put, you know, maybe it's a tiki torch. I can't believe it has a think with a 72 DPI file. That's not dark enough. But, you know, I could put a handle on it, make it a torch or something like that. Wrong color, by the way. Okay, and then the last thing I would do is I would come in here and I would get my brush again, some really fairly bright color, and I'd throw off some embers.
How would you make it illuminate if it's like in the dark?
Just like I just did. I mean, it is illuminated. Am I wrong?
No, it's, yeah, you're right.
I mean, it is illuminated. It's flame, right? Now, what I would probably do if I had this, if this was a,
You got the different temperatures of the flame.
mm-hmm. And I don't really, it's not going to get all that, you know, I might come in here. The only thing I might do here, here's the other thing I might do. It depends on, flame does a lot of different activity. Okay. It can do this. I might come in here and switch up to a much softer brush to get a different edge in here, just here and there. So I might come in here and just really soften a few things. So now I've got different things happening, different edges happening. Like up here, it's definitely going to dissipate away. So now we're getting like a nice little variety of different edges. Does that make sense?
Yes, the tip would be bushy and the
This is just going to dissipate away. I'm going to have some of these broken edges where the fire's lapping away from it. And then I can also, if I really want to push this, I could take this to almost white or even too white, but I usually like to leave some color in the whites. And I could come down here because sometimes it'll get a really hot center point like that. And then again, I'd have to come in here and sort of soften that up. That's a little too much, but that's okay. I drag some of my warm in there, you know, and then what would have to happen is if this was a campfire and let's say there was logs around it, then maybe out here, let's just pick this color. I'm going to pick a low level color here because if it was reflecting away, it's not going to be all that bright. So I'm just going to do this real simply. Let's put it on a different layer. And go. I'm going to fill it. And let's just diffuse it. Oops.
Which buttons do you use to fill with the foreground and background colors?
It's either Command Delete or Option Delete.
Okay.
One does the foreground, one does the background.
Okay.
I do it intuitively, so I'd have to stop to tell you. So what would happen here, if this was a you know, a fire, I think it could go a little more orange. And then I'd probably reduce that. Man, this thing is slow. You know, and if I had the logs and things here, you know, something dark. Because what's going to happen is because it's backlit by that fire, it's going to go pretty dark. And if I had, come on, oops. You know, if this was a fire and I had logs around it, that's going to obscure some of it. And then it would be casting the glow out here. Does that make sense? Okay. So what you have to have when you do this kind of thing, because we've been talking about this a lot, if I'm going to do this, then it's got to cast some light on different things in the scene. Otherwise it doesn't work. Okay. I can make it look all flamey all day long, but it's not going to look like much of anything. Now, another thing you could do is, let's see if we can do this. Come on.
Mike, from the
Yeah.
embers, you just took it from the tail and kind of like sprinkled them around, kind of like
I just
fireworks?
dotted it. I just took a brush and dot. They're still too uniform. I always come back in, by the way, and go, I always come back in. God, this is going to drive me crazy, the slowness of this thing. I always come back in with a, and I like, sometimes I assign a rough eraser, so it makes a rough edge. I like to come in here and either go, you know, again with my broken impressionistic blender. Oops, where is that? Oh, I think it's on this layer. Yeah, I put on that layer. I usually have these on separate layers. And I can either come in here and kind of, I want them to be a little more diffused, like real embers like that. Another thing I do is I come in with my eraser. In this case, I'm just going to use a brush because it's not on its own layer. And I'll sort of recarve the shape so they're not uniform. Like, I don't like that. That's too uniform. This is too uniform. This is too uniform, you know. And I'll just go in and then I'll also come in and go and grab a hotter ember like here.
Oh,
And
you'll
actually, I don't
blend
like
it.
using this brush for this. I'm going to go here. Let's just see what this does. I don't even know what it'll do. Because ideally, I want it in a regular brush. And I'll throw a couple of hot embers in there,
Okay.
just like that, right? And then if there was campers sitting around it, they'd be catching light. There was a little bit of shrubbery around it. So I got to throw the light around for the light to work. Also, I have to have dark to make the light work. Does that make sense? I had a
with
student.
the size of the fire, like, would you cast on their face the bright yellow if it was a big roaring fire, or if
No.
it was like a
Because the light, whatever it's reflecting on, unless maybe it was a mirror or a specular highlight, or somebody has a real oily nose and they're picking up a lot of specularity, what's getting affected by the light source can't be as intense as the light source.
Oh, okay.
Because the light's naturally dropping off. So even if you look here, if I put, because sometimes I do this, I'll go, you know, basically white here. I'm just going to do white. I don't usually go 100% white, but I'm going to here. Then I can really light it up. And sometimes it does that. It gets a white hot. And this will really light it up. See what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So now if you look, and it's hard to see it, but like if you look at a like an old incandescent light, it's got a blazing hot point source in there. Okay. If you're talking about like when I was working at Imagineering, we talk about point source light all the time. Like, where's the point source of the light? Point source meaning what's generating that light. So in an incandescent bulb, or in the case of this flame, that bright white is where it's really generating out of. That's generating the light. Okay. So, and then you want to take it all the way back to the point source, just like we were talking about with that light beam we just talked about a few minutes ago. That's got a point source of light. And as it dissipates out, it's getting more diffused and less light. Does that make sense? So your light is always diffusing and then drifting off and affecting things around it, obviously, right? I had a student one time who was doing, this is 1,000 years ago, who was doing a lamppost in this scene, right? And they kept trying to get the lamppost to glow, right? And I kept coming by and I go, and I didn't realize what they were doing at first. Then I realized they had a tube of white paint and they just kept putting white paint on it. And I go, what are you trying to do here? And they go, I want to make that white, or I want to make it look like it's glowing. I go, it's white paper. You know what I mean? It's like, and you keep putting more white on it because you think that's going to make it brighter, and it's not. You need to darken the background, right? For the light source to work, right? And then I'd also argue you need to, it helps a lot to have something to bounce that light around off of. You know what I mean? Could just be the ground, could be something near it, could be a person, whatever. But if you throw that light around, it makes it much more believable. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
And then the other thing that people do sometimes too much is they'll take these things and they go, well, I'm gonna, why is that not doing that? Oh, it is. Shoot. They'll put a big, what do you call it? Blur around this whole thing. And it doesn't usually do that. Okay. But that's just sort of myth. Sometimes it will. If it was certain types of, there's a lot of smoke going out of it. Like there'd probably be some smoke coming off of this. I'd probably add that in. Hang on. I'm looking for something. Come on. So let's try this thing, see what this does. Nope, that's not what I want. Hang on. don't know why this keeps giving me the wrong image. I don't want that image. Hang on, you guys. Oh, this is a good one right here. Okay, I'll download this one. Hang on. I restarted this morning. I thought that would help, but I guess not. It's another little thing. I don't know if we can do this. Let's see. So this is a stock image. And I'm going to take this one, I guess. This isn't a good selection, but that's okay. And let's go here. Let's go here. Come on. And I am going to I'm going to go Command I and invert it. And let's go. Come on. There it goes. And let's see if we can do. You know, and I can create a flame that way. Okay. And then I could go in and do the same drill that I did already with this. Only now I could probably just go. You know, same drill. I could probably come in here and go, hey, I'm going to shape it a little bit with my smudge tool, do the same idea, right? Now, another thing I could do, now this I have, if I only had one flame reference like this one, what I've done before, now here I have I'll give you guys this if you want it. What I've done is I'll go, okay, I need more than one flame. Now, how did I put that on the same layer? Let's do it again. Let's go here. Well, let's do it on its own layer. Oops. And I'm going to pick this. And then this. Let's say I have that, and then I come in here and I go, I'm going to just mess this up a little bit. And then what I could do is I could take this, because I did a little demo in class one time and I needed a couple of tiki torches. And then I can take this and maybe go, well, I can start off by just going edit, transform, flip horizontal. So right away I get something different. Then I could come in here and sort of reshape this a little bit, make sure it's still following the same wind pattern. So everything's going that way. and I can change this up a little bit and I can get a bunch of different flames. Does that make sense? So I don't have to keep making a bunch of them.
So Mike, would you save this as a brush or like a stamp? Like the whole thing?
I would just save it as what it is. What it's saved right now as is flame right there. So when I make it, I just name it. Okay, that was a weird tangent, but there you go. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, good. So let's go get rid of that. Now, here's what we're going to do. I'll give you that flame reference because it's high res if you guys want it. Anything I give you guys off Shutterstock is high res. So I would save those, okay? Because I get like all this stuff, by the way, because I buy certain assets like video assets or music sometimes or different things. And I get these emails from these companies and they go, hey, here's a bunch of freebies. So they give me free fonts. They give me, like I got today, I think it was today. I got, where'd it go? Like this, which is just a nice high res drone shot. They just give you free stuff, right? And I can use that for something or other. You know what I mean? I'm usually shoot my own stuff. This music, you know, so they'll throw stuff at you depending on who you're. And then I just get, these are a lot of transitions and things for video. It's a lot of video stuff actually. But some of them, they throw some really good stuff at me. They gave me film grain for free, light leaks for free, like all these video effects and things like that, which is nice, you know, because they're really useful. I use them all the time because I do a lot of video to promote classes and things. So it comes in handy. Okay, so let's look at what we're going to look at today. Wait a minute. I just want to make sure I go through this real quick. Yeah, again, make sure the ground's not so straight. Always got to do that. It falls, and then this one's a little transparent. So I might have put a backer on that. Well, that's good. Where's Lily?
Oh, that's me. I tried doing like a fog effect.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
I grabbed a brush in white and I just did the Gaussian blur.
Yeah, perfect. Is that, let's see. Oh. You added highlights, okay. Now be careful, those highlights, yeah, they kind of do, actually. Again, the grass down here. The reason I'm emphasizing that stuff, again, is there's all these things in Photoshop that, like we're just talking about, how they work, that you can know the hell out of Photoshop. If you don't know those things, Photoshop doesn't mean anything. Does that make sense? Go get you a $1,000 sketchbook. If you don't know how to draw, it doesn't really mean anything. Is there such a thing as a $1,000 sketchbook, by the way?
Maybe.
I'm sure there
There's
is.
something like $500 sketchbook.
Wow. Okay, so let's look at this, you guys. Here's what we're going to start talking about today. Okay, so I'm going to show you the basics of this, and then I'm going to show you a little, it's about a 10-minute video of Paul Lassane talking about his process of how he uses this, okay? You don't really have to worry too much about what he's saying because I'm going to kind of show it to you. Other than he's just saying he switches the y-axis or whatever, but I mean, it's going to be totally obvious. Once I show you this, it's going to be obvious. And the reason I like to show you that is to go, here's the basics of it, and here's a very professional way of using it. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's make a new layer again. So we're going to go through the same routine that we did. So we're going to go here. I'm going to go, let's see if I can do something interesting with this brush. This might actually be a cool brush. Yeah. I like this one. damn it. Hang on. I like this brush, my favorite drawing brush, this one, because it just has a nice taper to it. Okay. So I'm going to make this black, and then I'm going to come in here. Let's just try that. So same routine. I'm going to come here. I'm going to go edit. Oops, screwed up. Hang on. Edit. Define brush preset. I'm going to say fur. I'm going to say fur 1. Then I usually just go commands. There's my little brush. I usually command Z back out of that because I don't need it. And here's what you get. Now, yesterday when I was talking about the Aurora Borealis, this would be a good one to start with and then blur it. Okay. But do you see how it's getting this ribbon effect? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So what it's doing is it's just repeating the shape. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go over here, and it's actually right here also. It's right here. There's my brush settings. Okay. I also have it right. I always forget which one it is. It's this one. So what I got here now is my brush tip shape. So here's my brush. You guys see it? That's what it's doing right now, correct?
Okay.
So now I can go here and I can change direction of this brush. So now I'll get this. Let's make it smaller. It's too small, sorry. It's because it's 72 DPI. Let's do this. I think I'm just too close. Come on. There we go. Hang on, I got to recalibrate my stupid Wacom tablet. Come on. It usually does that again right after it does that, so expect that. Okay, so let's see where we are with our brush now. Yeah. So I'm going to go a little bigger. Okay, so there's our brush. Okay, so I got it here. So I can angle this and I can also squish it, okay? So let's put it back over here. And then you can see I can compress it and all that sort of stuff, okay? Here's my axis. And flip Y or X. And then look here, right here, there's spacing. So there, now it's doing the same thing, but now it's spaced. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's do this. Hang on. Okay, so now it's spaced. There it is. That's size. We don't care about that. Okay, so the next one down is shape dynamics. I'm just going to go through a few of them here. So if you look here, it says size jitter. And what you jitter usually means is like, I'm going to do something to make it not quite so regular. Does that make sense? And there should be angle jitter right here. So I can angle it. Start to get some interesting things. I don't want too much angle jitter right now. Roundness jitter.
Make it so it looked like grass even.
Yeah, well, you can make a brush that looks like just almost anything you want, really. So yeah, you could make it look like grass. I mean, I could say I could use this, you know, and then I could vary the size. You know, and yes, I can make grass. I can make all sorts of things. Okay, so and then I got this little bit of jitter going on with the roundness of it. I'll make it a little smaller. Okay, then we've got, so all these are going to just play around with it. Here's scattering. Angle jitter again. There it is. Yesterday I made a really cool one that would have been a perfect brush to make barbed wire. Okay, you could just drag it and it looked like barbed wire. Roundness jitter. Okay, there's that. Texture I'm not going to worry about right now. It does weird stuff to it like that. You can dial all these things. And one thing I do like a lot is transfer right here. And if you notice what it did is it faded off the beginning and the end. Does that make sense? See, I told you it always does this right after it does it. Good old Wacom.
Mike, are you saying it fades off the tips, or are you saying from the beginning to the end it fades off?
I'll show you right now. If you look at it, this side and this side now are faded, which fades off my mark making, which I like. Okay. So if I come in here and I go pretty soft, I can lean on it. And it's going to sort of, you know, where I lean on it, it's going to give it a lot of pressure sensitivity. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
You know, and then there's other things like wet edges I never use, but that doesn't mean you won't. Okay. And then there's certain things you can build in color things and stuff like that. I don't want to get into that yet. So, okay. But the main one here now is shape dynamics. And this middle one right here, if I go direction, what's going to happen now is this will now follow my hand. See that? And what that does is it lets me, depending on what I'm doing, I could wrap this around a character, this fur or whatever, which is, I'm going to show you a video on that here in a second. And it'll let me, you know, now if I go this side, I've got to change the angle a little bit because I want it to come out this way. So I'd have to come up here. Usually you just come up here to the brush tip shape and you sort of dial it in here. Okay. Or sometimes you can go to your, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. So the other side would be more like that. Does that make sense?
Yes. Is there a setting where you could, where the brush could like twist or turn each time that you use it? Kind of like.
Well, it is. It's following my hand.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
What it's doing is how I'm doing that. It's following that hand and spreading that around. Okay. So if I go here, so I've done this. I mean, everybody does this for all kinds of things if they know this. If you come in here and I go, let's try this. Let's go back to our regular brush. So I got it right there for one. Let's go. I'm going to go back to my regular brush. And let's try. I love playing with this. Sometimes I just randomly do this and sometimes I end up making really cool brushes. This might be too many, but let's see. So now I'm going to go edit, define brush preset. I'm going to say scale. There it is. I'm going to go Command Z out of that because I don't need this anymore. Or I can just erase it or whatever. And then now I got this, okay? But I'm going to go up here again. I'm going to go to my brush settings. And I'm going to go, I'm just going to leave it like that. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah. I'm going to kind of leave it where it was, I think. And then I'm going to go up here again. Let's go to spacing a little bit. So I want to space that. Now it's spaced, okay? But now I want to randomize it a little bit. So that gives me a little bit of size relationship. This is my distance. Angle jitter. So now I can get it sort of mixed up. You see what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. That was the one.
So you can do that. And then I'm going to go to scattering. I think it's under shape dynamics actually. And I'm going to go to direction. And I'm going to go to transfer. You know, and you can dial this stuff in. Now, you're also going to notice sometimes that you'll go, how come when I slide something, it doesn't do anything? It's usually because that's a parameter that needs something else to react to. Does that make sense? So I don't have any color built into this. So there's certain things that like, you know, but you can build color into this. You can build like sort of random color into it. So if I want to do a bunch of fall leaves, it would automatically paint them for me. Okay. So I'm going to come in here now. And what I could do here, like I've used this kind of thing for, is like scales on a dragon. Does that make sense? And then I could just go, let's say the dragon's head is coming closer to me. I could just get bigger mark making as I get closer. Okay. Now the other thing I could do with this, let's do another one. Hang on. Let's go smaller. I don't want them overlapping. Come on. Now they're overlapping. I wouldn't normally do that. But again, for brevity. So let's say I do that. I could take this if I was doing a European street scene.
Can't like her.
And I could take my perspective tool here. And I could create a cobblestone street. Does that make sense?
That's
Yes.
pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
So what I'm trying to get through to you is like there is a million ways you can use these things. And sometimes I'll be making a brush, you know, maybe this hillside or maybe this street, you know, has a rise up there. And I could come back over here, go to my transform, go to my warp, you know, and I could dial in the curve at the top of the street. And then I could go, well, I want it to be a little more where I'm looking at it more from a ground view a little bit. You know, then I could just come here and, you know, do that kind of thing. Could probably, you know, so I would just scatter a big thing of it, use what I need and get rid of what I don't need. Does that make sense?
So Mike, would you set these up like brushes or like texture brushes and then like subdivide it like stones or like you said, leaves?
Well, that's up to you. However you like, whatever makes sense for you.
Oh, okay.
Like I usually go foliage, ground texture, you know, whatever's in that particular illustration, right?
And did you say you can give perspective to this or is
Just
that?
did.
Yeah, what you just did, kind of like making it do that.
So
Okay.
I'm flaring it as it's coming towards the viewer, and then I'm bringing it up. And then when I do that, what I'm doing is I'm lowering the eye level when I squish it a little bit.
But you're not using like that perspective.
Huh?
You're not using that key perspective button. You're just doing it manually, right? You're just transforming.
First, I used my perspective right here.
Oh, you did. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Then I squashed it.
Okay. Thanks.
Because ideally, what would be going on here? Hang on. Let's see if I can do this. It's not letting me go darker on it, which is a little weird. Hang on. Come on. I might have too much transfer on it. That might be why, but let's see. Oops. Damn it. This lagging is driving me nuts. It doesn't want to. Go a little darker, but I can figure that out later. Ideally, what would be going on here? You know, and it would carry on into the foreground. But, you know, you'd have like a building here. That would be the top of the street. You'd have a building here. An awning. Balcony. You know, maybe some buildings back there. Some mountains. You know what I mean? And I get my little cobblestone street. So let's look at. So the main thing for the directional thing is you want to go here to this shape dynamics, and it's this middle one. You go to direction. Okay, there's other things here like, let's try this. Let's go back to one of our brushes. I mean, there's a lot of things where you can adjust them, but let's go. Just, I don't know what it'll do with this one. Hang on. Okay, so and here's another thing I just forgot. When I save this, what it's saving right now is the initial stamp brush I made, that, okay? When I make changes on this, so let's make changes. Let's go like we did. Let's go to size jitter. So by the way, look at this one. There's a bunch of stuff I could use that for too, okay? Or angle jitter. I could really angle this. And I could get a real furry, beardy kind of thing or whatever, okay? So I'm going to go, that's kind of interesting. And then let's go, and then I'm going to do the transfer thing. So that takes it off. So if I want to do it like the cobblestone thing, I probably don't want that transfer thing on there because it sort of fades it off a little too much. I'm going to take that off actually. Then I'm going to go to scattering. Let's see what we can do here. Oops. Okay, let's scatter. So look, this will let me do that and sort of angle it out. I could do this for like chest hair, like ridiculous swinger chest hair, right? You know, there's different things in here. Let's go to here. I think it's here. And let's go fade. And what that does is it will usually, it's not doing it, hang on. I want this to be a direction. The fade, when you put it on, it should taper the end. Okay, I don't know why it's not doing it right now.
It looks like the center of flowers. What are they called? Pistils?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, maybe, no, it's not here. That's weird. It should be right here. Oh, let's put more of it on. Let's do 100. Still not doing it. Oh, yeah, it is. So it's starting off real big there, and then it fades off there. Do you see that? So it's got a lot of the brush, then it sort of tapers off. Okay, so it is doing it. It's just, this is such a weird brush that it just looks weird. Okay, but now I've made these changes to this brush. So now I need to go right here to the flyout menu. I think it's here. New brush preset. I'm going to go scales with an S now. And now what it just did, it should have saved it right here. Yeah, scales right here. So if you look at the profile of the visual of it, that's now with my new changes on it. This one right here is just it's just my stamp brush. Okay. So when you make a new brush, if you want to save those presets, you've got to save it. Okay. Now you can also go, like I could select all these and go, oops. Where Where'd they go? I'm gonna see if I can do it from here. I'm not sure. No. Hang on, I gotta use my mouse. So let's go back to brush. Hang on. So let's say it's all these.
I only have the smudge brushes that you shared with us. I don't have the ones that you use for drawing.
So look right here. It says export selected brushes. So I got a bunch of them saved. I'm going to say today, desktop, and it saves it as an ABR file. So I can save them. Now, in that case, I saved them. So if I double click that, it's going to bring the whole set into Photoshop, right? So if I'm going to go work somewhere else at work, I might do that. Does that make sense? Now, the other thing I would do if I'm working on a project and I make a bunch of cool brushes, I'm just going to save them, stick them in a folder, label them, and then I'm going to, have them for later. Does that make sense? So that's how you save them, okay? You need to save the presets, and if you want to export them, you got to select the ones you want to export. If you select multiples, it'll just make that one file will be the whole group, okay? Or you can do it as one brush or however you want to do it, okay? Does that make sense? Very useful tool.
Yeah, can you do that just one more time, Mike? I'm sorry. Are you saying that you can go ahead and create a sub menu and then take it with you?
Well, you're just creating a file. It's right here.
Oh, okay. Okay. Now, okay. I'm sorry.
You're exporting them.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's right there. See it right there? That's the file.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
So if I go somewhere else and I double click that, it'll drop them into Photoshop. Then what I immediately do is make sure that they're in a folder on their own, so I'm organized. Okay.
Okay.
And again, there used to be all this rigmarole. It used to be such a pain in the ass to organize your brushes in Photoshop. So yet another thing that I look at with Photoshop and go, really, it took you this long to do that, to make this easy? So you used to have to do all this stuff where you put like a fake brush in there so it would separate the other ones, but you're still looking at 1,000 brushes, and it just sucked. And then finally, they just put folders in here. Let's try one more thing. What was I going to do? Let's try one more thing. I like playing with these. So let's do this. Let's go. Come on. Man, that's annoying. Oh, great. Fuck. Hang on. Okay, hang on. Damn it. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Did I go out for a minute?
Yes.
Okay. Because my computer's so screwy right now that it put me on, I accidentally put myself on the wrong Wi-Fi. I blame Casey because she's not here. All right, look, let's do one more thing. So let's take an interesting brush. Let's say maybe this one. let's see here. Let's
Did
go.
you share your wet media and dry media brushes with us?
Not yet.
Okay.
Okay, so there's our brush. I'm gonna try something new. So let's go here to fade. So you can see now it's too much. So let's go to 100 again. So I can control that fade by this number over here. Does that make sense?
Mike, we can't see your screen.
Oh, shit, really? Hang on. I just made another little blobby brush. You can see it now, right?
Yes.
Yes. Sorry, my computer's really screwed up. So I put a fade on this right here. Okay. So I can start to control how it daggers off. Okay. But I don't need that here. I want to try something else. So I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to go, let's see what happens here. There we go. I don't want too much of that. I want something more like that. Then I'm going to randomize it here with my jitter. A little there. Now this one. See, so you can build some color dynamics things in here, but we're not doing that yet. So this one I might use as like a nice little ground texture. I might add some color into that. And I could I could probably even push them out. Let's do this. Let's go. So that gives them a little more random look. So now some of them are transparent, a little transparent, and some of them are a little more opaque. Does that make sense? Really nice if I was going to do, you know, some autumny ground texture and I could mix up a few colors. Now we could also build in, again, some color shifts in there. I don't really want to get too much into that yet, but let's see if we can do it. I'll go over that probably later on this week.
So Mike, if you put this down, like you said, as ground cover, would you put them down as different layers?
Okay, see what it did? It just randomized my color.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Okay, let's go ahead now.
Would you put them down as individual layers?
What I'd probably do for this kind of thing, probably not. I'd probably go, let's get rid of this. I don't need this. So this is going foreground to background jitter is what it's doing. Okay, which is kind of interesting. Hang on. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that. I'm just going to turn that off, actually. I'm just going to turn off color dynamics for now. We'll go over that later. If I was going to do this, I'd probably just come in and grab me some nice autumny colors. This would be on a ground cover, obviously. So this wouldn't be the star, you know, and then I just vary it a little bit. Does that make sense?
So that was all one brush and it just changed the color?
Well, I'm now changing it because I want to control it.
Oh, okay.
The other thing I did is I gave it a color jitter and it sort of shifts the colors. And then what this one has is it has a nice little amount of transparency. And if I lean on it, I can go a little opaque. Okay. So you can see how much texture and things like that I can do with this. Okay. And if I'm going in and let's try something here. I don't know if I have this still. Just trying to find a texture. Where the hell did I put it? Hang on. God, man. Like if I make And let's just do it like this. I'm just going to grab some kind of ground color thing. I could dial it in later. I want to make a, love waiting for this thing to think. I'm going to go maybe this one. And I started to create ground texture again using my brush, right? Maybe warm that up a little here and there. Hmm. Then I'm going to come in here. It's going to be very slow probably, but oh well. And then I could come in here and go. And I'm going to start to create a little ground texture here. And let's try another brush. Let's go a little, I'm going to go back to this dark a little bit. This brush here is pretty random if I can find it. Might be this, it's this one, I think. No, it's not that one. I don't like that one. Hang on. Where is it? Maybe this one. Okay, that's not too bad. So what I'm looking for here, yeah, that's nice. So what am I looking for here is I'm looking for the brush to do all the work. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
So I can get a little ground cover here and I dial it in a little more. Like I don't want it all to be uniform, so I'll hit it here and there. Good enough for now. I don't like that. And then I could come back in here. Hopefully it probably didn't save my settings because I didn't save them, which was stupid. Yeah, it didn't save them. Hang on. So let's go back here. Let's go back to our brush settings. I should be able to dial it right back in. I don't know what's going on. There, God, what a pain in the ass. Okay. Shape dynamics, go back size jitter. There's that. Let's go angle. I want to randomize the angle. I'm going to go here to scattering, scatter it out. I don't want that much, it's too much. Let's go like there, maybe. We'll throw a little transfer on it. Go up to brush shape. I think that's okay. Spacing. Maybe then I want a little. And then once I build up this, put a new layer. You know, and I'd have a tree here, by the way. Hmm. The brush is dead for some reason. That's really weird. For some reason, my brush isn't working. I got something hit and I'm not remembering what I did. Let's turn that off for a second. For some reason, my brush isn't working. But what I would do is what I was doing earlier, I would scatter the leaves over this background. Does that make sense? And I don't know why my brush isn't working right now. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I've got normal, normal. Oh, that's why. That was a smudge. So I wasn't in my brushes. Let's go back. Back to, that's a different brush. I'm going to go here. That one. Let's do this again. Go scattering. It's got a nice taper on it now, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if I need that. So I probably got fade on here somewhere. I'm going to put transfer. That's a little better. Randomize them a little bit there. I don't want pin pressure right now. Transfer, that. I want to go. I want this to be a little more. I'd like that to be a little more jittered up. It's a little too close together, but you get the point. I could bounce those around over there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So Mike, let me see if I can kind of walk through this. So you're saying put down the street, give texture to the street, right?
Or whatever.
Yeah. And then we come back with leaves, maybe pile up a little bit of leaves, give it perspective. And then we could even hit it with light, like a direction on the light. Or
Yeah,
like
that would all be built into my color, right?
Okay.
So I probably lost this brush setting because I didn't save it. No, it's still there. I want a little. Let's scatter it out a little more. And then sometimes that's too bright, obviously. But sometimes then I'll go in here and then I can come back and just go, I don't like these up here. I'll just get rid of those. And I could start to lay these down on the ground and I would vary the colors. That color's too bright. So then I'd come in here and go, maybe I need to desaturate that a little bit. You know, and then I'd probably come in here with another, and I probably already lost that brush. So you got to save these, okay? Let's see. Oh no, it's still there. See, that's not too bad. I like that. So I'm hitting it really lightly. And then I might, you know, some are going to be down here. I'm going to scatter them. And then I'm probably going to come in here and go, I'm going to vary them just the way they're varied in real life. And I'll vary a couple of the colors here. And I'd have a tree up here. And then I might use some of these over here. Like I might use a couple, like a brighter color in here. Oops. Let's go to a really bright. Let's say we have hopefully I don't lose that brush, which I probably will, because I'm not saving it. It actually should go the other way. Should go, oops, should go this way. Come on, there it is. Oops. You know, I might make another one, or I might even use this one and just go, I'm going to get some wildflowers right here mixed into this whole thing. Maybe I'll go here and go really yellow. What a nice warm yellow. I think I lost my brush again. There it goes. Oops, too much. Come on. And I just get a couple little hints of wildflowers in there. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Definitely.
What I love about those kind of things is how simple they are, how complex they look, but how simple they actually are. Correct? Okay. And again, it's just knowledge and technique. Okay. By the way, one of the things you can do that he was sort of alluding to, he was talking about a clipping mask. I probably wouldn't do it with a clipping mask. I would go, I mean, you could, it's fine. Sort of like we did with the girl's hair where we created the clipping mask so you didn't paint outside of that's exact same thing he's talking about. Another way you can do that, I don't know if I still have this brush, that I have a delicate thing here like he has with the fur. You know, like that. And I want to paint over this. Let's say I want to paint this whole thing. I'm just going to get a regular, let's try this brush. You know, I just want to go over and make it that color. Well, I can't do that like that, correct? Yeah?
Okay.
But I can go right here, lock transparent pixels. Oops, didn't do it. Hang on. It should be locked transparent pixels. Hang on.
Mike, did you mean you couldn't do it because it looks ugly, or do you mean like we shouldn't do it?
There it goes. Couldn't do what?
You just said that yellow, not to do it.
Oh, no. I screwed something up. What I did, okay, so what I did is on this layer, which is its own layer, I went right here to this little icon right here, which shows the transparency and it says lock. And what that does is it locks all the transparent pixels, which means everything that doesn't have anything in it. So now I can come on here and paint on here, and I'm only going to paint, you know, what's here.
Oh, wow, look at that. Okay.
Okay, so then I could come back in here. This might actually help me a little bit. If I'm lighting this, now I might have come in here and I might go, okay, well, I'm going to kind of vary the lighting a little bit and vary the color a little bit.
Yeah,
So I'm getting, you know, I can sort of really dial this in. Okay.
wow. Okay. Thank you.
And it sort of acts like the clipping mask, except all it's doing is locking all the transparent layers, right?
Okay.
So this kind of thing, I'd probably use this technique just because it's really simple and straightforward. Now, if you want to come out here and paint out here, you can't until you unlock that. And now I can paint out here again. Okay.
Cool stuff. Thank you, Mike.
So what you got to start looking at with these kind of, well, I mean, all I want you guys to do today is just go make some reactive brushes. That's it. I want to make sure they have that directional flow. I don't care if they're applied to anything really. I just want you to play a little bit. You got to get into these tools and you got to start playing a little bit. Okay. Because at first it's sort of shocking how many people don't know this is all in here. Okay. And they're looking at all this stuff and they don't realize how fast all these things are going because people are using all these techniques. Okay. Just like Paul Lassagne doing. I remember seeing, and I think it was Paul Lassaigne's work years ago, and it was on one of those Penguin movies, right? And I was looking at some of the concept design for that, and that's before I knew about this. It's a long time ago. And I'm like, how in the hell is he doing the fur like that? You know what I mean? Because it was so, just like you just saw with that cat. And I'm going, what in the hell is he doing? Like, I didn't know how he was doing it, you know? And then I kind of figured it out or whatever. And then I found a video of him doing it, you know? And anyway, we'll get into some other brushes and things too, but you've got to know how to use this panel. And the other thing I want you to do is really, you got to really think this through. It's not, it could be fur. It can be so many different things. It could be a texture. It can be all sorts of stuff. Okay. And again, like if I've done this, if I'm painting like a scene or whatever, then I'll go grab a couple of the leaves that I painted in there and I'll make a brush out of them. And I'll go grab different things that I made in there. And then I can go and just cover a giant area very quickly. Okay. Now, what I have to be careful of is I don't want to see a bunch of individual leaves everywhere. So what I'll do usually is I'll sort of block in a big shape and then I'll dance a few leaves over it and things like that. But what it does is it just knocks hours off of everything. Okay. And I don't feel like you really lose anything with this. The only way you lose anything with this type of technique is if you just kind of don't know what you're doing. Does that make sense? You know, I've used that to make like crazy beard textures, you know, like big afros, like just stuff, all kinds of stuff. Okay. I mean, all kinds of stuff. And then you got to be clever with it. What I like doing, I do this all the time. I'll go in and just make random shapes and things and just see what kind of brush I get out of it. It's kind of fun. Does that make sense? Questions? We're good?
Overwhelming right now, just of all the things you can do. So it's going to take a little bit to.
All you want to do is just go in and play right now. That's why I'm not giving you any kind of an assignment with it. Like, go make this, because you got to play with it. Like if I said, hey, go do a fur thing like that, you'd fail right now because you got to go play, you know, because it's a little, the controls on it to me are a little weird. Like the way they're worded and the way, you know, there's just certain stuff like in all these programs, Photoshop, all of them, where it's sort of like, why you guys, it sounds like programmers are coming up with the names for this stuff. That's what it feels like to me. Whereas, you know, I mean, you know, once you get used to it, it doesn't matter. But what I'm really looking for is, and remember, it's right here. One of the main ones is under shape dynamics, this middle one, direction. And that's what's going to follow your hand. I don't know why this keeps doing this to me. Do I have it locked? Oh, I do have it locked. That's why. So, you know, this one's a little more scattered. But, you know, I want the flow to follow my hand like he was doing with the fur. That's a really important thing. And I've used that all the time just to do that exact thing, to sort of wrap fur around things. And I don't always do it like all rendered out like that. Sometimes I just do sort of real quick, you know, you could do real quick sketches and things with that. Okay. This one's a cool one. I like this. Now I could also use this stuff, this kind of thing. I might take that layer and put it way in the back to sort of just indicate a bunch of foliage back there. Does that make sense? And then have trees in front of it and just a little bit's poking out. And then I build my stuff in front of that. And this is just going to look like a nice random background. You know, I might go back here, you know, put my sky back in, and then I'd vary this color a little bit. You know, again, I might go in here and lock my transparent pixels. I don't know why it's, oh, I'm on the wrong layer. Oops. Why is it not locking my, there? Yeah, there it goes. You know, and I could vary this a little bit. But if I put a bunch of stuff, and I'd have to knock it down a little. So maybe as it goes into the distance, it either desaturates, it goes back there. But, you know, if I had, or I could have this if it was like a gazebo and I had the gazebo stuff in front of it, and this would just be sort of random background, put a couple people in front of it, a couple of bushes, and this just starts flowing into the background. Does that make sense? So it's also good for that kind of thing. Okay. And I unlocked it again. Now
So like for architectural drawing, urban sketching, kind of just something out.
I had an architect last term in here, I think 2 of them. And but one of them really took advantage of this stuff. And one of the things he did that we talked about a lot was I go, okay, architectural renderings are notoriously stiff and a lot and kind of uninteresting. Okay. You know, they're very clear. And I'd argue from what I've seen, it's gotten worse because now they're using 3D programs. And I'm seeing, like I saw something for, it might've been Pershing Square in LA. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah.
So we're just going to go make some reactive brushes and just play. That's it. But I want to see those tomorrow. Yeah. Let me make sure I got.
Uh-huh.
And then we'll move on from there. What are they? Okay. It stayed the same. All right, you guys. Any questions?
No.
We're good?
I think so.
All right. Go play around.
Right on.
Okay. All right, guys. I'll try and get this edited as quick as I can, even though my computer's.
Thank you.